Hey everyone, today I am going to be showing y'all how to do something like this. This is a render, but it's placed over a real life photo, so it makes the cars and your paint schemes and all that look a hell of a lot more realistic than if you were just to put it in like like a normal scene with some lighting and whatever. Just nicer presentation. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to do this. This is a render that my friend Shaz did for a Greg Biffle concept. So I'm going to learn exactly how to do that and see. Okay, here we go. So obviously you're going to need Blender for this. Um, Open up a brand new scene. Go ahead and delete all your stuff. You can leave your camera in there if you want, but you don't have to. I mean, you're going to make another one anyway. So anyway, let's start with setting up our cars. So obviously you need a car for this. So go ahead and import one for me. I'm going to grab a next gen Ford. No, we're going to grab a next gen Chevy, not a Mustang, a Chevy. All right, so got a Chevy Camaro here. Say if you follow me on Instagram and or Twitter, you've probably seen this, my Josh Berry car. So go ahead and copy that and put it in your brand new scene. And since my other scene's at an angle, I got to straighten out my car real quick. Just use the rotating tool and try to center the car just a little bit. Doesn't really matter if you get it like super spot on or not, just as long as the car is, you got the car. So we don't need this scene anymore. Now that we've got our car in here, go ahead and go to our viewport shading so we can see our beautiful paint scheme while we set up the rest of the scene. Go ahead and create a new collection, and a quick shortcut for anyone who doesn't know, you do Shift A, it brings up this menu. It's basically just the add menu up here, but it's a little bit easier. Shift A, get a new plane, and you're gonna make this plane decently sized. Say about that big works. Um, for better results, if you create a new material and darken the texture, it won't pop up as bright on the car as you just left it as it came. And if you go over to your object properties, down to visibility, that's the wrong thing. Oh, you know what? That was the right thing. Actually, so for this tutorial, you're going to need to be using cycles. I'm going to set up my cycles real quick. Put your samples down. You don't want to be rendering in 4,096 samples. That's going to take you absolutely forever. Turn on your motion blur, and just a preference here, I like to do medium high contrast for my cars. It just makes everything pop a little bit more. So now if you go back to your plane, go down to object properties and go to visibility, you can now see the shadow texture option, which you didn't see previously. But now if you turn that on, when you go to cycles, um, now it looks like the car is floating on nothing. So anyway, back to that. Let's set up our background. So go down to shader editor. So you're gonna click on this little icon up here with like the ball and the grid, down to shader editor, and click on this drop down up here and go to world, and you're left with this. So there's a little bit of setup that goes into it, and so you, as like before, press Shift A, and then go into search and do image texture. You link color to color. Do not do alpha to color because it'll mess up a lot of things. Then go back to search and then search at mapping. You get this big menu, vector to vector, and then you do Shift A again, search, and then do texture coordinate. Get this menu, and you want to get the window, this, and put it to vector, and you'll get this new location thing. Make sure all your values are zeroed out except the bottom are all at 1, and your strength is at 1 for your background. Everything else should look exactly like this. So now let's get a photo that we want to use. So go on Google and let's see. We can render something NASCAR, like Atlanta. Yeah, we'll do Atlanta Super Speedway. So just grab a photo. Let's see. I kind of like this. Oh, that's the wrong photo. I kind of like this Ross Chastain photo here that we got. So go to Jayski's website since it's not loading, and nice high quality photo. Grab that, and it does help when you do this. If you do match the car to what you're rendering, obviously you don't have to, but it'll it'll be a little bit easier to do it. So you got your photo, and press the open button on your image texture. Go to where it downloaded at, which is right here. Now, if you go back to here, you see now the whole background is, well, it's Ross Chastain, so it's a little. Take a look at what he did. Go to Shift A, add your camera, which here's a little cool trick I like to show people. If you press 0 on your number pad, it goes inside the car, but if you click this drop down, or it'll be on the side, and you click on the drop down, you go to your view, camera to view, and now it moves with your cursor, your mouse. So anywhere you move, your camera will move. Just turn it off and it'll stay there. So that's another thing to your setup. Now, here's where the lighting comes in. So you obviously need lighting to make it look good, to make it fit. So what you'll do, Shift A, go to Mesh, and then go to UV Sphere. Go to your side view, bring this up a little bit, size it up. I'd say that's probably about good. As long as it like fully covers the car. Press Tab, go into your edit mode, and then toggle your X-ray, which you can do Alt Z. Doesn't really matter if you do hotkeys or not. Select the whole bottom half and make sure you delete the faces, just like that. Make sure you're also in the face select mode. So now you have a half sphere, shade it smooth. Doesn't really matter if you do or not. I'd raise it up a little bit and make it a little bit bigger. So for this one, you go to Object Properties and go down to Visibility, turn off the camera option, go down to your material properties where you set up everything, create a new material. However, this is a very important step. If you don't do this, it will not work properly. Where it says Surface, Principal BSDF, you remove that, then go back over to where it says None, where it would say Principal BSDF, add a background, go to Color, go to Environment Texture, and it'll go pink. This means you obviously don't have a texture there, but this is basically what creates all your lighting to go down on your car. So I'll show you an example here. Put a HDRI in there, and then you flip it to cycles, and you get lighting. And if I press H to hide it, your lighting goes away. And you just have your lighting of your background photo. And yeah, there you go. So for this, let's take a look at the photo actually. Kind of cloudy. So we'll go to HDRI Haven. I don't have any of my links saved. Unfortunately, I had to clear it for some ad blockers, but we'll go to, we'll go to skies and go down to overcast. Something like what we're looking for. I think this looks pretty good. Download it, be an 8K download. So now we have that downloading. Might take a minute too. So while we're doing that, I'm gonna hide all of that, go back to your camera, and you want to click this drop down up here, go to Seed World. Your car will be red. I mean, that's okay. Or it'll be a different color. It doesn't really matter as long as you can see your car. Now, keep in mind, you got to make note of what your sizing is. So if I go to my properties and I can't see where details. So it's 2048 by 1365. So we'll go over here, go to our format. So 2038 by 1365. And now our photo background looks normal. So now we've got to start lining the car up. And here's the key thing when you're working with cameras, your focal length is everything. So this is probably a high focal length. I've turned it up and you can already almost kind of see like, yeah, this car is starting to take the shape of Ross Chastain's car. And this part might take a while, depending on your photo, which you might need to turn your focal length up a good bit too. Just really all depends on what kind of photo you got. And do some rotating, maybe a little bit more front end. Take a look, yeah, a little bit more to the front end. Continue lining it up. And if you need more focal length, go ahead. Now, when you start rotating stuff, since you're at such a high focal length, it might start to get a little bit funky, but that's okay. So how you know you've gotten it lined up is when you can zoom out and it takes the shape of the car. So I can tell you mine is almost there, as almost everything is lined up. It doesn't have to be perfect either. Oh, we're so close. Sometimes it might look like you're really close and then you like actually mess something up or then you have to kind of restart all over again. That's okay. We'll say this is pretty good right here where we got it. And if you look, yeah, that looks pretty good actually. And let me switch my HDRI out. Oh wow, that's actually like perfect. Seems like we got a weird glitch here going on with our... Huh, that's weird. And our blender just crashed. Awesome. All right, I've recovered everything. I'm not sure why it crashed, but that's okay. So it looks like it's actually fixed everything now. My scene's no longer has that weird black area. Anyway, turn off your scene world stuff, and here's our last part of this. Well, of the rendering. We'll go ahead and hide our car. All we need is our wheels. And for the next gen, this is a little bit easier because it's only a few pieces. So you want to select all your moving parts. So in this case, it's the nut, the rim, and the tire. And you only want to do this to the tires that will be showing. So like you don't see the back tires, it doesn't matter if you map them or not. So just put together the wheels that you need. In this case, it's the driver's side wheels. Make sure your keyframes over here on the bottom are set to 0. Go to your object properties, and now you need keyframe things. So if you go over here, you hover over this. Don't click on anything. Hover over it. Press I. It'll go yellow. That's how you know you've keyframed it. Do the same for both. In this case, um, I only do about 20 frames for moving shots when it's just a single photo. If we're doing animations, it's different, but for single shots, it's just like that. You go to 20, and you only want to rotate on the axis that moves the wheel forward and back. So in this case, it's a super speedway. They're probably moving close to 200 miles an hour, so I'd probably move it a high value. So we'll see I'm at 1500, press I, then you go to the back wheel, do the exact same, and you can just type in a number if you want, or you can move it like I'm doing. In this case, I'm trying not to make the wheels line up too much. Press I, and then go to the middle, 10 frames. Make sure your motion blur is on. You can Alt-H to unhide everything. And then here's some setup we got to do. If you go to performance, go down to tile size, and what your biggest resolution pixel count is, so 2038, go down here and type that in, so 2038. Basically, it'll render it in one big photo instead of building it together and whatever. It's just easier. Set that up, and then what you can do is you can turn it on transparent and render it like that if you want. So go to film, go to transparent. So when you turn this on, you're just rendering the car like this, or you can turn that off and render the car with the background on there if you prefer to do that instead. Doesn't really matter which way you go at it. For me, I'm going to turn the background off and render it. So we'll let this do its thing and come back when it's done. And now that we're back, our render is done. So we can go ahead and save that. Go and name it so we can find it a little bit easier. And then we'll go ahead and open Photoshop. So let me go ahead and save this scene real quick. And then I'll close this out because I don't actually need it. Open up our Photoshop or GIMP. Doesn't really matter which one you use. Now that we have Photoshop open up. If you did go the route of transparent car with putting it on top of the photo, what you'll want to do, go ahead and grab your photo and then open up your render and then Control C, oh, Control Shift V. See it paste right over. Well, actually, let's look how good we did it. It's not perfect, but it's okay. So now you got to make this like fit a little bit better with the photo. So what I like to do is create the background into a layer, Control J, and then merge these two, or merge visible. Either or works. Go to your filter, camera raw filter, and start messing with some of your effects. Looks like it might need to be a little bit brighter. Some clarity to it. Make sure you add some saturation to it. All right, so now that that's done, you can reverse all that. Select your car, camera raw filter, boom, your editor in there. Like it pops just as much as the actual car does. I would say so at least. Um, but yeah, that's as basic as it gets. You can, if you want, you can cut out the wheels and use the original wheels. However, I'm not going to be doing that because Ross Chastain, uh, well, he wrecked his car, so there's some tape and whatever. I'm not going to bother with that. But this is as basic as it gets. Just putting a car on top of the photo. Setup is very, very easy. Just follow this and you'll have good results every single time. I promise. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully within the next few months, as always, I will probably post another render tutorial by request, as it always happens. So, yeah, until then.